gone on and we won't be silent anymore. Yeah, somebody's hurting my sister and it's gone on. And it's gone on for too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Did you hear somebody's poisoning the water? And it's gone on for too long. Yes, it's gone on for too long. Tell you it's gone on for too long. Somebody's causing the water, and it's gone on for too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Have you heard somebody wants to build that wall, y'all, and it's gone on for too long, and we won't be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore. Just the voices start clapping. And we won't. And we won't be silent anymore. Last time, all together. And we won't be silent anymore.
Well, welcome all. We are so glad to have you. I hope that music got you in the spirit of this movement to end poverty as we get started in our training on giving testimony to elected officials. This is a powerful day for us to be discussing how we can get our voices heard and how we will create change, because today is actually the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. So we'll keep that goal as our focus for the evening. I do want to mention that this event is co-hosted by A Wider Circle and the Maryland Poor People's Campaign, and it was made possible by many individuals. We have the members of the Poor People's Campaign that have come together to help us build the training. We have so many individuals who are expert testifiers. We also had A Wider Circle Social Justice Committee, of which I see faces in the crowd, so good to see you. And we have some presenters from that committee this evening. I do want to call out some particular names, though. We do have Mike Puskar from the Maryland Poor People's Campaign that's helping us to lead the technology this evening. Thank you, Mike. And we have Linnell Fall, a tri-chair also from the Maryland Poor People's Campaign, who will be co-hosting the event with me tonight. And then our final speaker, we have Ayanna Bunch, who is our co-chair of the Social Justice Committee of A Wider Circle. So just so you know some of the faces that you'll be seeing this evening. And let me pass it to you, Linnell, to share a little bit about the Poor People's Campaign.
Good evening, everyone. So glad that you could attend this event. The Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, is a fusion movement uniting people across the country to challenge the interlocking injustices of systemic racism, poverty, the war economy, ecological devastation, the denial of healthcare, and the false moral narrative of evangelical nationalism. That is our mission, and thank you.
Thank you, Linnell. And to share a little bit about, to introduce myself, I'm sorry, my name is Rachel Buck. I'm the Director of Advocacy at A Wider Circle. My pronouns are she, her, and I have the pleasure of working at a wider circle. And our mission is to advance equity in the greater Washington, D.C. region by fostering the exchange of goods, skills, and connections from neighbor to neighbor, and by engaging in advocacy to address the root causes of poverty. So now let me give you a little idea of what the evening will look like. It'll break down into two parts. First, we'll be viewing some video clips of people in action giving testimony. And then the second half will be more in-depth training on how you can engage in giving that testimony yourself. So let's go ahead and kick off the training with our videos, which are members of the Poor People's Campaign giving some really powerful testimony.
My name is Amy Jo Hutchison. I'm a single mom of two who's lived in West Virginia all my life. I'm also a community organizer for West Virginia Healthy Kids and Families, Our Future West Virginia, where I organize and advocate for poor and marginalized folks. Today I'm here to help you better understand poverty because poverty is my lived experience. And I'm also here to acknowledge the biased beliefs that poor people are lazy and that poverty is their fault. But how do I make you understand things like working full-time for $10 an hour is only about $19,000 a year, even though it's well above the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. I want to tell you about a single mom I met who was working at a gas station. She was promoted to manager, and within 30 days, she had to report her new income to DHHR. Within 60 days, her rent bumped from $475 to $950 a month. She lost her SNAP benefits and her family's health insurance. So she did what poor people are forced to do all the time. She resigned her promotion and went back to working part-time just so she and her family could survive. Another single mom I know encouraged her kids to get jobs. For her DHR review, she had to claim their income as well. She lost her SNAP benefits and her insurance. So she weaned herself off of her blood pressure medicines because she, working full-time in a bank and part-time at a shop on the weekends, couldn't afford to buy them. Eventually, the girls quit their jobs because their part-time fast food income was literally killing their mother. You see, the thing is, children aren't going to escape poverty as long as they're relying on a head household, who was poor. Poverty rolls off the backs of parents and right onto the shoulders of our children, despite how hard we try. I can tell you about my own with food insecurity. The nights I went to bed hungry so my kids could have seconds, and I was employed full-time as a Head Start teacher. I can tell you about being above the poverty guideline, nursing my gallbladder with essential oils and prayer, chewing on cloves and eating ibuprofen like they're Tic Tacs because I don't have health insurance and I can't afford a dentist. I have 2 jobs and a bachelor's degree, and I struggle to make ends meet. The federal poverty guidelines say that I'm not poor, but I cashed in a jar full of change the other night so my daughter could attend a high school band competition with her bands. I can't go grocery shopping without a calculator. I had to decide which bills not to pay to be here in this room today. Believe me, I pulled myself up by the bootstraps so many damn times that I've ripped them off. The current poverty guidelines are ridiculously out of touch. The poverty line for a family of 3 is $21,720. Where I live, because of the oil and gas boom, a 3-bedroom home rents for $1,200 a month. So if I made $22,000 a year, which could disqualify me from assistance, I would have $8,000 left to raise 2 children and myself on. And yet the poverty guidelines wouldn't classify me as poor. I Googled Congressman's salary the other day, and according to Senate.gov, the salary for senators, representatives, and delegates is $174,000 a year. So a year of work for you is the equivalent of almost 4 years of work for me, and I'm $24,000 above the federal poverty guidelines definition of poor. It would take 9 people working full-time for a year at $10 an hour to match y'all's salary. I also read that each senator is authorized $40,000 for state office furniture and furnishings, and this amount is increased each year to reflect inflation. That $40,000 a year for furniture is $360 more than the federal poverty guidelines for a family of 7. And yet here I am, begging you on behalf of the 15 million children living in poverty in the United States, on behalf of the 1 in 3 kids under the age of 5, and nearly 100,000 children in my state of West Virginia living in poverty, to not change anything about these federal poverty guidelines until you can make them relevant and reflect what poverty really looks like today. You have a $40,000 furniture allotment. West Virginia has a median income of $43,000 and some change. People are working full-time and are hungry. Kids are about to be kicked off the free and reduced lunch rolls because of changes y'all want to make to SNAP. Even though 62% of West Virginia SNAP recipients are families with children, the very same children who cannot take a part-time job because their parents will die without insurance. People are working full-time in this country for very little money. They're not poor enough to get help. They don't make enough to get by. They're working while they're rationing their insulin, and they're skipping their meds because they can't afford food and health care at the same time. So shame on you. Shame on you, and shame on me, and shame on each and every one of us who haven't rattled the windows of these buildings with cries of outrage at a government that thinks their office furniture is worthy of $40,000 a year and families and children aren't. I'm not asking you to apologize for your privilege, but I'm asking you to see past it. There are 46 million Americans living in poverty, doing the best they know how with what they have, and we, in defense of children and families, cannot accept anything less from our very own government. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you.
I think we just heard why this hearing is important.
My name is Terrence Wise, and I'm a 37-year-old second-generation fast food worker. I'm a leader in the Fight for 15 movement here in Kansas City, and I'm also a father of 3 girls. I currently work at McDonald's, and despite my many years of experience, I only make $9 an hour. But my fiance Mo is a home health care worker and a Walmart worker. She works doubly hard. And despite her 13 years as a home health care worker, she only makes $10 an hour, taking care of some of the most vulnerable citizens in this nation. Neither Mo nor I, neither one of us have benefits, a pension, paid time off, no voice on the job whatsoever. It means that I haven't been to see a doctor or a dentist in 18 years. 18 years. It means that my daughters, my 3 little girls, have memories of getting ready for school in the back of our purple minivan in sub-freezing temperatures right here in Kansas City, while me and Mo get ready for work in the front seat because we are homeless. Y'all, when Mo got sick earlier this year, just this year, and she was in and out of the hospital, our employers didn't care if we became homeless again. They didn't care because we don't have paid time off, sick pay, insurance. They didn't care if Mo lived or died. And that's the truth. And that's what poverty wages and no unions look like in the world's richest nation.
Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing those. And I really want to honor those voices that we just heard. And I think the best way to do that is to stand shoulder to shoulder with them and add our voices to that. Now that we have a little view of what testimony, what testifying can look like, I want to move us into our more detailed training, which is going to be me. I'll bring up, it'll be myself and Ayana who will be presenting, but I'm going to go ahead and bring up our slideshow. So you'll see that on your screen in just one moment. Okay, great. So as we begin this portion of the training, I again would like to introduce Ayana Bunch, who will be presenting with me. And just so that you know, this training was developed and will be presented by members of our Social Justice Committee of A Wider Circle. Ayana, I'll pass it to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I want to first cover what giving testimony can look like. This is someone who shares their position on an issue or a bill with their elected official in hopes that the elected official will then be convinced to vote for or against the bill. Someone could give testimony in many types of meetings, like in person, at a DC Council meeting or a hearing at the Maryland General Assembly, or it could be online. Generally, a person will have 3 minutes to share their views and why an issue is so critical to them. Tonight's training will cover giving verbal testimony to elected officials, but all the same concepts apply for doing written testimony or for giving testimony at a rally or other function. At this time, I will pass it back to Rich.
Thank you. So, first off, we need to be looking at why we should testify. Simply, it's because we must eradicate poverty. In our country, we have more than 140 million people, roughly a third of our country, who are experiencing poverty or who are low income. And we now know that poverty is also the fourth leading cause of death in our nation. So literally, it is a matter of life and death that we change laws that are causing and perpetuating poverty and implement new laws that make it possible for everyone to thrive. So as I hope you're seeing on the slideshow, laws like increasing affordable housing, raising the minimum wage, funding eviction prevention, expanding SNAP benefits, funding the child tax credit, which we know that during the pandemic that cut child poverty roughly in half. And yet we let that expire, right? And we also have the earned income tax credit. And this is a short list of many laws that we need to see passed and throughout the whole nation. So another reason that we should testify is that elected officials' role is to serve the people that they represent. We need to tell them what our priorities, issues, and concerns are, and then hold them accountable for addressing them. And lastly, your story and your needs are important, and you're the only one who can tell them. And I'll pass it to you, Ayana.
Thank you, Rachel. So for our slide 4 is who should testify. For the question who should testify, the answer is you. Whether you are impacted by the issue personally or you care about your neighbors who will be impacted by the issue, your voice is needed. It doesn't matter if your voice and your needs are shaking or if your life is so busy that you can only testify occasionally. That's okay. Or if you would need to bring along your kids who might be screaming in the background, you'll be showing them a great example of standing up for change. You might be thinking, should we just leave this up to professionals? We don't have high-paid lobbyists on our side doing this work for us. Our power is people power. When we show up in numbers, stand in solidarity with one another, not with one another, I'm sorry, y'all, with one another. That is how we can create change. So I hope you guys understand the need to just show up, because your presence is really what makes things count. And I'm gonna once again pass it back to Rachel.
Thank you. So now I'd like to talk about what a structure can look like. So if we're thinking about, how we can tell our story or how we can share about what we need to see in our community, it's easy to kind of think about it in these 4 portions. So the first is just the greeting and introduction. So this could be, good morning, DC Council member, thanks so much for having me speak today. I'm so sorry. My name is X. I'm a DC resident, mother of 2, and a minimum wage worker, because maybe you're going to come and speak about needing to raise the wage. And then going on to the second point is stating your position so that it is crystal clear why you are there and what you want them to do. So maybe you're talking about capping rent increases, which was one of the things that we were advocating on this last year quite a bit in Montgomery County. So you're going to tell them clearly, I want to see this law passed to cap the rents, we're having, 50% rent increases, and so that's too much. And then we're going to go into giving them reasons of why that is your position. So this is a great time to think about, is it your story that you want to share? Or is it what you're seeing in the community? Or maybe you've looked at the data and you see that it is a crisis that needs to be addressed. I have provided a hot link here to poverty data from the census, which can be one area to pull this information from, or it could be local nonprofits, or maybe your faith is important to you. That's something I've heard many people do in testimony, is actually pull from religious texts and say, we cannot just turn the other cheek. Everyone is our brother and sister. And so they pull from that to make their case. And then lastly, you'll want that conclusion. So restating your position again, what do you want to happen or not to happen? And then thanking the council members for the opportunity to speak. And Ayana, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. And slide 6 is tips on giving testimony. And I want everyone to understand, yes, we want you to show up, people in numbers, but we also care how your personal stories and testimonies affect you. So although our personal stories can be powerful to share, we want to be careful to not re-traumatize ourselves by telling them. If you feel that sharing your story will cause you emotional turmoil, it is important to prioritize your mental health. If you will feel empowered by sharing your story, then you can choose if you want to share all of it or just certain details. So to prepare for giving testimony, it is helpful to write out the main points you want to share and then practice on your own or role play with someone. Try to get comfortable enough that you do not need to read your testimony word for word from a piece of paper. Your eye contact with elected officials will be important. Also, if you know what those on the other side of the issue are saying against what you want done, try to use counterpoints to show why this thing you want to have happen is so important. Thank you. I'm going to pass it back to you, Rachel.
Thanks so much. Now, this slide is really focused on where you can find these opportunities to testify. It's one thing to have your testimony ready, but then it's the other to know where to go. And one of the main points that we would like to make tonight is that it is so much easier to do this kind of testifying in a group. Whether or not it's part of the groups that we are with tonight, we've provided a whole list. We provided our names if you want to join either the Maryland or DC Poor People's Campaign. There's lots of testifying opportunities with that group, or a Wider Circle Social Justice Committee. But also we have some other great groups: the Way Home Campaign, Jews United for Justice, CASA, Renters United. This list could go on, but the idea here is, if you're going out and trying to find these opportunities on your own, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. I've provided links that I'll talk about in just a moment, where you can go onto the council websites and try to find where they have the opportunities to testify. Some are easy to use, some are not easy to use. And so it's great when you're part of a group, because they can highlight what all the logistics are, they can put your name down, and you could even join a group where you might be highlighting one important point in your testimony, then the next person's making the next point, right? And so you're not even having to cover every aspect. And of course, it builds a movement when we do this work together. So we encourage you. All of the organizations here are kind of colored red because they're links, and we're going to share, of course, this information with you so you could follow up and join one of these groups to continue to organize and share your voice. Though, if you do want to be looking for opportunities to do on your own, and hopefully others will be there, although you may not be kind of coordinated with them, you can go right to the government websites. So the Maryland General Assembly, I provided the link to where you'll find testimony there. Montgomery County Council, Prince George's County Council. If you're maybe in one of the other counties, a quick search of, your county and then the county council hearings, just putting those words together, it'll get you right to where you want to be, to have that list of what issues are going to be talked about. Maybe affordable housing is coming up on their agenda, and they have an open spot where the community can come and give testimony. Great, you can sign yourself up for that. Also, of course, the District of Columbia Council. And then if you want to just find all of your elected officials, you can use this last link here. All you need to do is enter in your address, and it's going to give you your federal, state, and local elected officials and all their contact information. So you could set up a meeting directly with an elected official and talk to them one-on-one if you'd like, or it'll provide you their email so that you could write in a testimony. All right, I'll pass it to you, Ayana.
Oh, Rachel, are we gonna have the guest speaker for slide 8?
Oh, yes. We are going to follow up with everyone. We are hoping to send you a little bit of a meditation that can help if your nerves are getting to you. Our guest speaker wasn't able to join us tonight, but we will send you a few tips on, because I know for me, as I was getting into speaking publicly, I would have done anything else if I could choose, because my nerves would just take over. But we'll be sending, as I send along this recording to you, a little information on how you can help to calm those nerves, some breathing techniques and other things. Thank you so much, Ayana.
No problem.
And I'll pass it to you just for these last few points.
Okay, no problem. So, I would like to share these 2 additional resources, one from ACLU and the other from Citizen Advocacy Center, that you can refer to in the future as you prepare to give testimony. We will share these slides and this recording with everyone so that you can use the links in this training.
Thank you so much, Ayana. Well, good. As we do close for the evening, I hope that you're feeling energized and empowered to bring your voice, in solidarity with the others that are on this call and those in our community that are doing this activism, and to encourage others to join in activism. I will say, yes, you've seen now Ayana's chat with our information for a wider circle. You can follow up, but I want to also pass it to Linnell as we close to talk about the ways that you can engage right now with the Poor People's Campaign.
I was so impressed with your stories, because your stories, open up a line of freedom. As I told my story propelled me all the way to speaking in front of the Supreme Court. It just propelled me to just be free. And I had many in my family members who were very angry at my testimony, but I had to tell that story. That story psychologically took a weight off of my shoulders that no man could have done, So I appreciate the voice that the Poor People's Campaign gave me, and Reverend Barbara gave me, to speak my truth, because with my truth, I gain power. And don't ever think that your story will not impact others. It does. You don't know how, when, or that your story will be remembered, but don't underestimate the power of your experience, because it is powerful. And I want to welcome each and every one of you to organize and testify with the Poor People's Campaign. You can be a part of building this movement shoulder to shoulder with us by reaching out to the Merlin at poorpeoplescampaign.org. We also encourage everyone on this call this evening to sign our Maryland resolution to end poverty, which you will see in the link in the chat. It's in there, okay. But remember, your voices are your power and your liberation, and it frees so many people. And you smile and you forget some of that trouble, okay? And in moving forward, it's just exhilarating because you're not ashamed. It's the truth. They're ashamed because you're telling them, and they want to shut your voices, but don't let them shut your voices down. We should be screaming from the rooftop about the injustices of poverty in this country, and we need to sign that resolution and get this job done and put these politicians and those that we have, our elected officials, on point to do their job. Thank you.
Let us go out on that. I look forward to organizing and testifying shoulder to shoulder with you all very soon. Stay in touch.
Well, here,
Bye-bye.
let's exit on how the Poor People's Campaign does it.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay, our
I'm
chant.
going to say forward together. Everyone else, I'm going to let you come off mute now too. Let's do that.
Everyone can come off
When I say
mute,
that,
we'll do a chat.
yeah, you say not one step back, and we do it 3 times. Okay? Forward together.
Not
one
step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
One more step back.
Yay.
Thank you, everyone.
See you all soon.